Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Chiefs win. Cry, Eagles, cry.
Great, excited to be back for another week.
You know, every day I got the Three Stooges in the studio with me is a good fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So let's make sure he gets that bag.
Frauds! Woo!
Justin's way ahead in picks. That's all that you need to fucking know.
Show's ruined.
Show's over. We're going home. I would like to welcome you back to another page of the Playbook Sports Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to day number 4 of 32 NFL offseasons in 32 days. Yesterday, we talked about the Baltimore Ravens and their outstanding offseason that they're putting together. Now let's talk about a team that is not having such an outstanding offseason, and that is the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo coming off of, shocking, another heartbreaking end to the season where they were just straight up outplayed. I wouldn't even consider this one to be a heartbreaker because there was no point in that game where I was like, oh man, Buffalo's got this. Buffalo's moving on to face Kansas City on a neutral site. No, Cincinnati absolutely dominated them, and Cincinnati has only gotten better, which you'll hear about coming up. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the offseason that the Buffalo Bills have had. You would think as a team that hung preseason championship banners and proclaimed themselves as the Super Bowl favorites right away that they would have done something to close the gap between them and the Chiefs and them and the Bengals, because I really think there is a widening gap there. And yet they really didn't. This offseason has been unspectacular to say the least for them. No big free agent additions, no needle movers as I like to call them. They did bring back Jordan Poyer, which I thought that was a good signing considering he really does epitomize the Bills defense and is the heart and soul of that unit. He really stepped up when Micah Hyde went down for the season last year, but he does get banged up, man. He gets pretty injured. But I liked that re-signing, and I liked I was okay as meh on the Trent Sherfield addition. He's kind of a one-for-one replacement for Isaiah McKenzie, who they let walk, along with other players that they let walk. Their middle linebacker, Tremaine Edmonds, former first-round pick of theirs, only 24 years old, and they let him go. So they're all in on Matt Milano, who plays one of the most aggressive styles of football I've ever seen. So I'm not sure how that'll turn out for him, but they let Tremaine Edmonds walk. They let Isaiah McKenzie walk. But a loss for the Buffalo Bills this offseason that I don't think we're talking about nearly enough is the loss of their defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier, who has decided to step away from football for at least this season. Leslie Frazier has been a fantastic defensive coordinator for the Bills. Since he took over that position in 2017, the Bills' points allowed per game on average, the seasons he's been the DC, has been 23.4, 16.2, 23.4, 17, and 17.9. Those are fantastic units. He gets the most out of players. He's been a really good defensive coordinator, and they just lost some pieces to their defense, and they're getting up there in age, and Micah Hyde he missed the entire season with a serious injury. Damar Hamlin, thank God he turned out okay and is okay and wants to come back to play football, which I'm telling you, I don't think I would be able to step foot on a football field. More power to him for doing it, but I'm just, everyone's going to be worried about him. And their championship window is closing, in my opinion, and that makes me really happy. But Leslie Frazier, that's a big loss for them. So I'm interested to see how their defense looks when they have a new DC who isn't as good as Leslie Frazier. Let's talk about their draft. I did like the Buffalo Bills draft. I didn't hate moving up for Dalton Kincaid. I also didn't love it, though. I do think Dallas probably takes Kincaid, and I think Kincaid would be the starting tight end in Dallas, whereas he's the backup tight end to Dawson Knox this year, who they just paid. Felt like they traded up in a panic. I don't know if they had someone else on their board that they'd just gone, so they're like, shoot, let's go get our guy. But Dalton Kincaid in and of himself is a fantastic tight end, probably the best tight end from this class. Excellent receiving tight end, but he's just not going to see the field a ton this year unless they run a bunch of 2 tight end sets, which they could, I suppose, but that's just not something that the Bills have historically done. So I personally would have taken Brian Branch with that pick. I wouldn't have even traded up. I'd have sat there and taken Brian Branch because they need help on the backside of that defense, but that's neither here nor there. It just didn't feel like a pick for this season. It felt like a pick for the future, which I don't have a problem with, but it isn't what they need right now, and what they need right now is offensive firepower. I do think they absolutely crushed their second-round pick in Mr. Osiris Torrance, who I had as my highest-graded interior offensive lineman in the draft, depending on how you look at Peter Skoronski. If you consider Skoronski an interior offensive lineman, he's the best, but a lot of people have him as tackle, so that would put Osiris Torrance as my highest-graded interior offensive lineman. Guy's a stud. But outside of those two picks, their draft was very They had opportunities to improve that they didn't really jump on. So for their draft grade, I'm giving them a B- because I do think Dalton Kincaid and Osiris Torrance were excellent value picks, especially Osiris Torrance in the second round. I think one of my mocks, I was disappointed that I had the Bills getting him in the first round, and I was like, please, somebody take Osiris Torrance before the Bills' first pick. They got him with their second pick. That is excellent, excellent value. So I'm giving him a B-, just because I felt like there were other needs they could have gotten, but oh well. B- is not terrible. But that being said, overall as an offseason, when they didn't do anything, they didn't go out and do anything, and they're clearly, a tier below the Bengals and Chiefs in my mind. And they're obviously in win now mode, except they didn't act like it this offseason. They did not go make any win now moves, in my opinion. They have just kind of sat there and watched their division rivals Jets go get Aaron Rodgers and improve this offseason. As much as I like to dog on the Jets, and no, I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders with Aaron Rodgers, they're definitely better than they are with Zach Wilson. And the Jets beat the Bills last year, and now you add an actually competent quarterback, and that's going to be a tough game. The Dolphins add the best defensive coordinator in football, along with having a decent draft and adding Cam Smith, which was excellent value, and adding Jalen Ramsey to a defense that, yes, the Bills have been able to score on, but all of a sudden they got a better defense, and now it's going to be a lot harder to move the ball, especially when your first-round pick isn't seeing the field as a backup tight end. The AFC is just absolutely loaded with teams that improve this offseason, and the Bills do not find themselves among that group. I give their offseason a C+, which C+. We'll stick with the C+. I'm not going to bail on that. I'm staying with the C+. As far as what kind of team the Bills are, we know what kind of team the Bills are. They're obviously a team that is going all in to try to win now because they have to, because this is their window, and it's just so damn unfortunate for all of us in the AFC that so many teams are so good in the AFC right now. This is the title window for 7-8 teams, and instead it's Patrick Mahomes' window that we're all dealing with, and it's going to be Patrick Mahomes' window with a little sprinkle of Joe Burrow in there. And that's just the way it is. The Chargers are going to have to sign Justin Herbert to a long-term deal with 0 playoff wins. The Dolphins are going to have to sign Tua to a long-term deal with probably 0 playoff wins, unless both of them were to get one this season. The AFC is absolutely loaded and it stinks. But give me a C+ on the offseason for the Bills, and give me a B- for their draft. Thanks for stopping in on this one. Also, thank you, everybody, for the support on all these videos. It means a lot. Let me know if you'd like me to do something different with them as we continue to go forward. But this was day number 4, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 5.